Hi dear students, how are you? I hope you're fine. Today we're gonna have section 4 of chapter 2, Modern Economies in a Global Age. So let's start. Okay, modern economies, as market economies here have evolved, government interventions has increased. Go to globalization. What? Globalization? Yep. Due to globalization, most modern economics are a mixture of economic systems. So, rise of mixed economics, we have here blending systems that combine traditional free market and command economies with limited government intervention involvement. So, we are talking about here what we are going to talk about modern economies. It's here a kind of economies which is what? Which is here evolved due to the globalization. So, most modern economies are now a mixture of economic systems. Mixture? Yes, mixture. Here I'm talking about mixed economics, right? Okay. So we are going to blend the systems together and combining them to give me a new thing which is called modern economies. Modern economies, some government's intervention. Let's talk about this. National defense. Okay, the interventions of the government here, in which fields we got in the national defense, it's not a joke here. National defense, it's very important for the government. The government here must interfere or have here interventions in this part and have control, I mean. Roads, highway systems, and mass transit, as we see here in Egypt nowadays, what really happens, this is the government interventions to make new roads, new highway systems, new transits, conservation, environmental protection, as we know, job safety guidelines, consumer protection. So consumer protection for the consumers, job safety guidelines here for the employees. Some government interventions, we have social security, we have minimum wage, we have unemployment benefits, education, healthcare. All of that for the government interventions. This is important to study well and to remember. More government interventions in we have laws protecting property rights. So we got here laws to study. Yes, we know that. We have here patent laws. When I have here property rights, I have here something called patent laws. Give the inventor of a new product the exclusive right to sell it for a certain time period. So the patent rules here protect here the inventor of the new product. Okay, exclusively he has here the exclusively right to sell it for a certain time of period. Private property. What about the private property? Property owned by individuals or companies, not by the government, of course, or the people as a whole. More government interventions, and we are talking still about here laws enforcing contracts. Here, the government has the power to enforce the contracts between sellers and buyers, of course. If I sell an apartment for you, for example, and you don't want to leave the apartment, the government here interfere and makes me enforce the law here, enforce here the contract that I sold the apartment and I should get out of the apartment now. Insisting on competition here, the government here must be sure that there is no monopolies and trusts are illegal. We know that here the monopolies is illegal. It's what? To have the market with no competitors. So this is very good role for the government. Okay, guys, I have here the mixed economies. The mixed economies balance. Yes, we have here Why balance? Because we have here mixture of economies, so you have to have a balance here. It's like here a recipe: economic control and freedom in the market. I must have a balance between economic control and freedom in the market. Prioritize economic goals based on society's values. Some goals are better met by open market, some goals are better met by government action. So we have here, according to the economic goals, evaluate opportunity cost of pursuing here each goal. What are you willing to give up? Opportunity cost, guys. I'm going to do what sacrifice here, a willing or giving up a willing to gain another. What are the social, economic, political factors affecting my decisions? I have here some factors that affect my decision here, like social, one, social, economic, political. Example, the United States. Let's see, United States. Foundation of the US economy is the free market, but it also has traditions followed in different parts and limited government interventions. So they say that they have just limited government intervention in the US. They say that the foundation of the US economy is what is free market. Yes, but it has also some traditions followed in different parts and limited government intervention. Investments are determined in a free market by private decisions rather than state control. Do you believe this? Yes, you do. Example, Sweden. Sweden's mixed economy. Swedish government owns here one third of all Swedish companies. So the government here controls or owns third of the Swedish company. So, but Swedish government redistributes more than half of the nation's wealth through social benefit programs. So this is very good point for the Sweden government or country. They do what? The Swedish government did what? They redistributed here the more than half of the nation's wealth over or through social benefit programs. Swedes here pay around 56% of their income in taxes compared to Americans who pay just 32%. So they pay here in Sweden, they pay 56 of their income in taxes, but in the US they pay 32. I have to remember those percentages, please. Comparing mixed economies, the degree of government involvement in the economies varies among nations. So I have here centrally planned, and here I have free market plan, free market economics. So as we see here a chart, here I have centrally planned Iran, North Korea, Cuba. Then I have here the free market, Hong Kong, Singapore, United States, not absolute here free market, United Kingdom, Canada, I'm talking about here socialism, France, Peru, Greece, South Africa, Russia, China. This is here when I talk about China and Russia, I'm talking about something which is more here nearer to the century plan. So, so I have here the continuum here arranged with no clear divisions. So, mixed economies where government intervention dominates. We have here North Korea. North Korea, what do you think about it? Economy is almost totally dominated by the or controlled by the government. We know that. Government owns all property and economic output. We know that. Owns all the property or the economic output. State owned industries produce 95% of nation's good. Here the state owned industries produce 95% of the nation goods. About who does this? The government. Almost all imports are banned in the North Korea. No imports. Almost all the imports are banned. production of goods and services by foreign companies is forbidden. So here, this is for North Korea. Mixed economies where government intervention dominates. What about here, China? I'm talking about different here countries. So we are studying different countries here, their economies. China economy is dominated by the government, but 25% of all enterprises are at least partly owned by individuals. So I have here mix. I have here dominated by the government, yep, but 25% of all the enterprises at least partly owned by individuals, has relied heavily on central planning in the past, but it is now in transition. So it was central planning in the past, but now it has some transition. Transition, what does it mean, transition? Change in ownership. Transition means, very important here, term in economy, it's transition here, it's a change in ownership, a period of change in which an economy moves away from a centrally planned economy by the government toward a market-based system. To make that transition, state firms must be privatized. Okay, so to make that transition, state firms must be what? Must be privatized. What does it mean, privatized? Privatization. So privatization is to sell state-run. Government, state-run here means the government. State-run means the government, to sell government firms to individuals. So I'm selling now the government firms to individuals. These firms then compete with one another in the marketplace. So this is the privatization. Opposite to what? These two terms are very important too: privatization and nationalism. Nationalization, privatization, and we will see what Asian again. So to change here from what the opposite here, from private ownership to government or public ownership, like what happened in Egypt under Abdel Nasser's ruling. What happened? Nationalization. Okay. We have here Hong Kong. Okay, private sector rules. Okay, we have here in Hong Kong private sector rules, right? So I'm talking about privatization. Government protect private property. Government rarely interferes with the free market. We have here a free market. Government does not set wage and price controls on rent and some public services. Does not or does set. Okay, does set here. Government set, or does set here means what? It sets the wage and price controls on rent and some public services. So this is very important for the government to do. Highly receptive for foreign investment or to foreign investment. Virtually no barriers on foreign trade. So it here attracts the foreign investment. Banks operates independently of the government. Foreign-owned banks have nearly same rights as domestic ones. So this is a very good example for the free market. I have here United States economy, more of a global market economy here. Globalization, we have here another term you have to study. It's okay. Globalization here means what? Economic activities, crossing international boundaries. Because of free trade, we have here free trade agreements, faster transportations, communications. So we have here foreign investments are encouraged in here the USA. Free trade, government does protect some domestic industries. We have here retaliates against trade restrictions imposed by other nations, few restrictions on banking industry, high level of economic freedom. Government interventions here in the US: keep order, provide vital services, promote general welfare. So this is for the US, and we talked about Hong Kong, and we talked about here nationalization, privatization. We talked about a lot of things here, transition. We talked about here China also, North Korea, mixed economies. We talked about market economies, and we talked before about traditional economies. I hope you understood the lessons, guys. These are the lessons for quarter one. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to send me on the SCL. Bye bye.